shout out to our beloved Houston Texans who took down the Tennessee Oilers yesterday. Did anyone watch that game with, let's say, the kind of attention that you'd give to a regular game? I'll admit it, I didn't.
How long did you watch the game like a regular game?
I looked up and down. I was at a friend's house. It was his 41st birthday. So I stayed in touch with the game, but was I paying attention to it with a lot of focus? No.
I watched the first drive with CJ Stroud in there with
Mhm.
much intent.
Do you feel better about their chances going forward after that first drive?
Sure. And then he came out of the game and I was like, like why do we add a game? All this is decided. This whole week is a dud. the whole week 18 was boring. I like for 24 hours the Bengals were alive until Carson Wentz reminded us that he's Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
The Vikings Lions game was fun, but there was no like playoff like animosity. The Chargers we're waiting to see if they won, to see if that's your first round opponent.
Mm-hmm.
But really, just besides like that first drive, I was like, this is kind of a bummer.
It was a waste of a Sunday, I thought, for the NFL slate. And look, hey, the people are going to watch, people are going to make their money, but it is one of those games. And congratulations to the Texans for being 2-0 against the Tennessee Titans when they wear the Houston Oilers uniforms. 2-0 with backup quarterbacks winning and taking the victory knees in both of those games. But today, guys, it's a day we got to talk about. And I mean, it's a day that where we have to remember something that happened in the past, a pretty recent past. Arguably one of the worst days in not just the history of Houston, Texas, but also in the United States of America. And I think everyone knows what I'm talking about, right?
January 6th.
No.
It's January 6th, we have to remember.
Well, on January 6th,
January 6th, we remember these things.
You got to remember these things because I don't think our country's ever been as embarrassed as they were, all that time ago. Just watching the absolute chaos, patheticness, really just an ugly side of who we are as people was shown. And I am, of course, talking about 12 days ago when the Houston Texans played on Christmas Day. I have not been on the air since then, and I'm sorry. You think that game yesterday is going to make me shift my focus and take a look ahead to the playoffs? Abso-effing-lutely not. That is one of the biggest disgraces that I've ever seen in my life. In my life. Guys, for those who do not know, I have been to hundreds of Houston Texans games as a Big J journalist, including during years where they've won 2 games, where they've lost 14 games in a row, where Matt Schaub was setting pick 6 streaks. I've been through some bleed. I have seen some bleed. That game on Christmas Day is the worst thing that I have ever seen in my life. And yes, I've made this joke several times before about contemplating suicide while watching a Texans game. This time I said, I've had it. I have had it. In the middle of the third quarter, got up, packed my computer, and I got the bleep out.
I thought there was a chance you were going to come to work the next day just to scream for 3 hours.
I thought about it.
I was like, just Jeremy and I today, like, maybe Paul's going to show up and just, because when I saw that you posted that video and you said you left early, I was like, oh, man. I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch a second of it. I was like, I'm going to watch it. We had a family party that night. I was like, I'm going to watch it when I get home. Took the long-ass drive from League City to Tomball. By the time I got to Tomball, it was 17-2. And then also one of Dana's cousins was like, hey, Ravens scored again. I was like, oh, hopefully Jeremy watches this game because I'm not. I'm not watching a second of that game.
And good for you. And Sean, good for you. And you know what? You guys both told me. You both told me not to go.
I was going to say, you can't say we didn't warn you.
You both told me not to go. And I thought to myself, you know what? I have a family and all, but the Houston Texans are playing on Christmas Day. And
that's your family.
I have an obligation to my radio family and to my audience to cover that game and to talk about that game. And then I watched that game. And, I mean, it's cost me everything. Guys, it has cost me everything. My family no longer talks to me. My family is upset that I skipped out on them for that. And can you blame them?
No, I can't.
So here's what happened first. So my sweet mother, who I love so much, the person I'm probably closest to, sorry, Dad. I called her on Christmas Day, and I've been calling her the last couple of days. Can't get a hold of her. Now, she may be traveling in Egypt and maybe can't pick up the phone, but I think it's because she's so upset with me for not coming home for Christmas. My dad, same thing. Haven't spoken to him in weeks. Unbelievable. And I think he's ashamed that I have decided to cover this team for 12 of the last 14 years of my life. He's like, my sister went to my daughter went to Harvard. My son is an a-hole who is covering the Houston Texans on Christmas Day instead of coming back to see his loving father who's given him everything. He's not talking to me. But here's what's worst of all. My godson, Richie, love him. You know what he said to me? And mind this, he's 3 years old, incredibly brilliant. He said, Paul, your decision to skip Christmas Day and see me open presents was a lot like when Hitler decided to declare war on the United States of America before he absolutely needed to in World War II. You know that was a foolish plan. That's what my 3-year-old nephew said to me.
Sounds like a smart kid.
Right. My 6-year-old niece, she's speaking already. Or excuse me, 6-month-old niece, she's speaking already too. And she said, you're a failure and I don't love you anymore. All of this happened. True story. My family has disowned me. I'm not going to get the great gallant inheritance that my dad complains my mother took from him. I'm not going to get it anymore. Okay? I have been cut out of my family because I spent time with those effing losers on Christmas Day. And I get in their 10 and 7, blah, 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 blah. Dead to me. They are dead to me. I prefer to root for a team that just fired its black head coach after 1 year in a very messy fashion. I prefer that. What a bunch of losers. They ruined my Christmas Day. The Twitch told me, the YouTube told me, you guys told me, everyone told me not to go, and everyone told me not to buy into the hype this year. And my God, that just complete turd. And we're talking a 3-footer here. We're talking a clogger. That thing ruined Christmas, New Year's, my love of football, and let's be honest, my life, because I've been cut out of the inheritance now. Unbelievable.
All right, follow-up question immediately. So next year when they play on Christmas, are you going to go? Or they play on Thanksgiving?
Well, it's too early to say.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Well, I don't have a family to go back to anymore, right?
Yeah, they'll come around like your UT fans. Like they'll come around. Don't worry. Like, no, never again. Paul, they could be 15-0. They could be 15-0. Don't do it.
What have I done? Like, what have I done with my life? I've spent my life covering this team, like with a lot of passion. I mean, some people are all the way in on it. Like, shout out to Landry Locker, to Cody Stutes, to the people who have really gone all in on the Texans. I just can't. I can't. I don't think I'm ever going to do it again. Now, theoretically, I'll jump back on the bandwagon if they win in convincing fashion on, guess what? A Saturday playoff game against the Los Angeles Chargers. But guess what's probably going to happen? Not that.
But even then, they win on Saturday by 10 points. They play the Chiefs the next week. You're going to be like all the way back in before they play Patrick Mahomes?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Hey, look,
I get a Chiefs hat, honestly. Jump on the bandwagon.
I hope they never play on a holiday ever again.
They don't deserve to because they ruined the holiday.
Yeah.
They ruined Christmas. Like, Beyonce almost saved it. And then they played the second half.
Which Cal and Hannah coming out, though.
Yeah.
So did you basically stay for the concert and then leave?
I stayed for the concert. I had no idea what was going on, but it sounded good. I was like, wait, Beyonce's a country singer? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that's her new thing.
She sings country?
Yeah, she did a country album.
Yeah. I thought she sang Bootylicious, which I was disappointed she didn't do that. I did scream that from the press box several times. Play Bootylicious, and everyone was like, Paul, stop being so horny.
Now,
Landry had to be like, all right, this is serious press box.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does the cheering apply to the halftime show like it does during the game? Like was everyone like?
Good question. I don't know. I left in the third quarter, so didn't find out. They might have been looking to take me out. They had
to yank out DJ because of how he behaved at
halftime.
DJ's
just jamming to Beyonce's new country album in the press box. Totally can see it.
Two-stepping with Stutes. I don't know.
Yeah, that I would pay money to see. But yeah, Christmas was terrible, and then this last week was just a giant nothing burger.
I spent. I'm not kidding. When I was in Mexico, and I've spent the majority of the last 12 days telling anyone who will listen, I cover losers. I've covered losers for a living, like a loser organization.
The Astros
doesn't matter who's the quarterback, doesn't matter who's the head coach. Like this, I just cover a loser organization, and I'm that's been my entire life. I mean, if you talk about midlife crisis, you're 35 years old. You realize that this is the team you've covered. You thought that this was going to be the year where the takes you had finally matter on a national level. And then they do that on Christmas Day. It wasn't that they just lost. I mean, if they got shut out, it'd be less embarrassing. The Ravens gave you 2 points.
Okay, that's people were talking about that.
Out of sympathy,
I do agree with
you
that.
2 points. It was sympathy. Don't get it twisted. Derrick Henry, he has murdered this team, and he thought to himself, you know what? Just like Scrooge decided to help old Tiny Tim out that one Christmas, guess what? Derrick Henry, he gave you 2 points. He gave you 2 points. He gave you the chance to perhaps turn that game around.
It was the Christmas miracle from Derrick Henry, the gift of 2.
Doesn't matter, Brian. But AFC South champions 2 years in a row, Brian.
That's right.
You guys are back in the.
Doesn't matter what it looked like. Back in the playoffs. Looking forward to the playoffs.
Exactly.
Go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
It's crazy how that applies perfectly to this season.
How far away are we from? It's year 2 of D'Amico, from that interaction with like D'Amico and Landry, where it's like, is it next year? Doesn't matter. Landry 3 years in a row, AFC South champs, 10 wins.
9-8.
30 wins in 3 years.
He is much better, and again, low bar, but he's much better at controlling his emotions than Bill O'Brien is. So I don't think that we're going to see a D'Amico Ryans pounce like that. I listened to D'Amico Ryan's press conference today. I listened to his press conference after the game. He's saying the exact same thing. Like, we're focused on the now. We're focused on the present. Like, yeah, I would be too after Christmas Day. I would be too, where you ruined Christmas for millions of children in Houston. You ruined Christmas. You guys ruined Christmas.
Imagine the kids that got Texans tickets for Christmas.
Yeah.
Because I bet you there are a lot of dads out there that were like, I'm going to buy tickets to the Texans game. He'll open them Christmas morning, and then we'll go to the game at 3:00, and it'll be this incredible father-son bonding Christmas. And then
those kids are Ravens fans now.
Yeah, those kids are like, they're selling those jerseys for sure.
Too. I mean, the Ravens were awesome in that game, but yeah, you're definitely thinking long and hard about your future. But the good news is, and I don't know if they still do ticket stubs, but on a day like today, where it's like 40 degrees and you have a fireplace or something like that, they'll provide a little bit of tinder so that you can light your logs on fire.
That makes
Okay, so you got that going for you. Anyway, I needed to get that off my chest. I've been holding that in for 12 days.
I honestly
felt constipated.
I was like, he's either going to show up for work, he's going to do a podcast from Mexico. Like, no, I was like, no. There's going to be some Paul Gallant content. Instead, it was just the video of you walking out, and that was it.
My family won't talk to me anymore, so I've been on like a 12-day bender. And that's what happens.